Doopy-doopy-doopy-doopy-doo. Check, check. Yes, we're here. Oh, it shows up on screen as well. That's even better. Wow, things are working today. Ooh. Okay, we're live. And welcome. Welcome to the intro to a brand new series, our first game. Well, yeah. I've been doing a series called A Game Club, and this is going to be a mini-series, I suppose, because we're going to write a game. Why not? Here's a question. Have you got coffee? Well, you need coffee. What game are we going to develop? Well, so the game, the goal. Oh, okay, go. So let's put that down. To develop a game from the idea of a maze puzzle. And the maze puzzle you'll find in any puzzle book. Basically, it has a start, it has a finish, and you draw a line through a maze from the start to the finish. Pretty simple puzzle. Not always easy to complete, but logically speaking, it's possibly one of the simplest puzzles to solve. But how would we develop that as a computer program? Hey, it's Polyglot. Hiya, mate. Good to see you. We're going to develop a game. I thought I've done enough talking about how you should go about development. But as of yet, we haven't actually seen a game being developed. So, where do you start? Well, you need to know what you have. You've got a goal. You've got an idea. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't say much about the final product. It just is an idea. And that's what people start with. Oh, I've got a really good idea for a game. What a really good idea for a game isn't is fun. And what a game is fun. So that's where your goal, your idea, mismatches what you're about to develop. So we're going to fail. That's the first objective to note. Our idea here is not to succeed. Can you develop the game? Yeah, of course you can. Anybody can. A child of 3 can develop this game. That's not the point. At the end of the day, will you have a game? And the criteria of that, is it fun to play? And that's the criteria. You've got to decide what a game is. And it's fun. Is there supposed to be a winner or a loser? Well, in this case, no. You either complete it or you don't. There's no win, there's no lose. You could put the idea of a score into it, if you wish. How many moves it takes you to complete the puzzle. And you could have a high score, or you could have a goal within the game that you have to complete it within so many moves. And then you could have a win and loss. So you could incorporate the idea of winning and losing within the game. But that's not the definition of a game. The definition of a game is how fun is it to play, not whether there's a winner or a loser. We only have that silly idea of games because of something called sports. And we think that sports are games. They're not. A sport is not a game. A sport is deadly serious. It is not fun. It's damned hard work. Whereas a game is relaxing. It might test a bit of your brain. It might cause endorphins. Or it should do, at least. Just as a sport would. But for a different reason. And that's the whole point of me developing this game. First of all, you got to encompass the idea of what you think a game is. And then produce it. From the idea here to develop a game, from the idea of a maze puzzle. Now, what does a maze puzzle look like? In these books, it's a square. You have a start, somewhere near the edge usually. You have a goal, somewhere in the middle. And you go around this maze in strange ways. And, of course, you get to your goal. And you have to do that, well, you could say there is a shortest route, if there's more than one route. Or you could say there's only one route allowed. Do we have one route? Or shortest route? Already you can see the rabbit hole. This could go on and on and on and on and on. This is the prelim stage to game development, putting your idea down and then trying to restrict it. And this is what a game developer would normally do. And it's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Your initial idea should remain pure. You should not restrict your initial idea. Your restrictions come from the program that you develop. It should not be designed to be restrictive. By doing that, you will impair what you can develop. You will be closing doors on what you can do. So, this is wrong. The answer is, we don't know. Yet. And that's interesting. Because a lot of people will go and formulate a plan. And that plan will always be wrong. It has to be by its own definition. And you will hear a lot of stories in AAA game development especially, where halfway through they realise what they've developed is not fun and have to go back to the planning stage and alter everything. And it happens to every single AAA game. Not just one. It's because they started with a plan. So let's throw that out of the window. We're not doing a planning stage. Well, that saved about a week's worth of development. And a lot of paper. Hey, that's good. Let's go green and save the planet. Less paper. But I only use these electronic pages now, so that's fine. So where are we then? We're actually now at the second stage of development, which is construct the environment in which to develop. Well, first of all, we'll need a machine, won't we? Let's switch one on. Okay, we'll switch one on. No signal. Well, give it a chance to start, God's sake. So we know what we're doing. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot to remember, is there? And we have no restrictions on how we do it. And that's important. That's the most important part. What development environment do we want? Do we want a new development environment, or do we want to use the one we've already got from the game programming club? Well, I want to use the one from the game programming club. That's why I'm doing this. It's as, oh God, these mice. This is to go alongside the game programming club. It's not really its own thing. Is this the mouse? Oh God, it is. It's heavy. Alright, okay, fine. Just checking sounds again. Check, check. Alright, I'm happy. It's just that my internet, since I've upgraded it, has been acting a little dodgy, and I think what they're doing is dialing it in. So yeah, if we lose connection or the video drops, I'll go back to see how far the video drops, and I'll do a continuation of that another day. So if the video suddenly stops, don't worry about it. My new internet, although it's fantastic, is not yet stable. So from the game club, what have we got? We have, let's look at it. Let's look at what we've developed so far. This is the first thing you should look at, is what do you actually have? So we've been developing Arana. Look at all of this. We've got developer tools, we've got Midnight. I wouldn't call it a game engine, I would call it a framework at this point in time. There's not enough there. It is actually a complete game engine, but there's not enough there to make it into what I would say a useful game engine. So we have actually got Midnight. We have an operating system, which took me exactly 24 hours to develop. Wow. We've got utility, we've got Vulkan, and we've integrated Vulkan into a widget for Qt. So we've got a Qt environment. Okay, I'll go with that. So are we going to be starting with what? Midnight is a separate source. Okay. So which one of these goes with it? There's a question. I don't know. Let's have a look. Sandbox does. Where's Sandbox then? Where's this? And what is it? Okay. We've got an entry point. That's Amber Sky's core. That's not it. So under Midnight, what do we have? We have a Sandbox CCP. Who are you? Huh? Who are you tied to? That's Foundation. But what's this doing here? Okay, let's have a look at the dev for Midnight. We have the items, we have a picture, we have core. This comes from a Qt main window. Yes, it does. So we have a Qt main window somewhere. Oh no, this is Vulkan. I don't want Vulkan. What was the initial game called? There we go. I don't know. Have I removed it? That's the widget. That's Vulkan. Development, util. Developer tools, util. Right, let's have a look at util development then. Just close all, please. Util development isn't here. Alright, let's put ourselves into Rana and close everything off. That's all to do with Vulkan rendering. Alright. Let's close that down as well. Let's open util development. Not developer tools, because I was developing something else there. So let's have a look at you. Why didn't you open the project then? Because I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay. Where's the profile? There isn't one. Okay. These are the files. I always have a backup. Let's run this and see whether I'm right or not. Yes, here we go. Hit spacebar to continue. And we should be able to use WASD to move the P around. That's what I'm after. That's the Midnight engine. That's how it works. So it's this file here. Now where's this file here? File system. This is in projects, Rana Sandbox. Okay. Fantastic. So we've got a working starting program that we can use. It does have a README as well. It's generic Qt and the source can be used in any project. There you go. ECS style game engine. Feel free to download as a starter pack for anything you wish. There you go. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want. But we don't honestly want to call it Sandbox, do we? So what we could do is steal it. Right, first problem is our profile. That part isn't a problem. What about the... No, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. So how does this work? I would have had to go outside of the application to get to... Okay, I've altered... Pardon? Oh, it's inside Rana. So you copy the whole of Rana. Okay. Does this work with the current Rana? These are on the top layer, where Rana is in the source. Gotcha. That might not be exactly what I want. So, we'd need to separate them off. We can do that. So we're going to need a location to do this. Let's choose a location to set up a development environment. So this is all about, so I'll stay with Twitch, although I know all the stuff I want here is in projects. Okay, we'll put projects in a different window. Right, that's a different window. So we're going to be taking the sandbox. This. So projects, Rana, sandbox. These are all the bits and pieces. Okay, where are we going to put them? We're going to put them in Twitch. Again, we're going to go inside Rana. So Midnight is here. So we can put a new folder anywhere. Underscore dev. I don't want any spaces. So there we go. We've now got a place where we can put our files. Midnight is available to us quite easily. We can jump out of here and go into there. That's not a problem. So this is our development environment. All we would need... I'm not... is... Got to be careful what I take here. I want you. Not bothered about you. Alright, I'll just take the top row. I'm not honestly keen on taking that one. So you lot. We're going to copy you. There you go. Done. We now have to get this to run. And that will be our development environment. What I don't want to do, though, is have my application on this level. So we'll need a new folder. We'll call it source, as usual. I'm going to call it source. I'm going to go lowercase with everything now, if I can. So what are we going to be calling this? The core application. New folder, core. And I want to take everything that isn't main. That's U3. Cut. Did that work? Paste. Yes, it did. Excellent. Right, now we can open it. So, close all projects. current session, yeah. So it'll be open project. So projects, Twitch. Where is it? Rana. Amazing dev. There we are. And we've got a profile. Desktop, GCC, 64-bit. Yeah, why not? Configure project. And it's done. We now have a new Sandbox Pro user. It does that for us. That's why I didn't want that file. So here we are. We'll pop you away a minute. What we're going to try and do is get this to work, which it shouldn't. According to theory, it shouldn't work. So where's Midnight? Midnight has a source. It does have assets. Oh damn. Oh, the picture's here as well. Yep, that picture's here. So I have copied it over fully. So main is going to be looking for something that doesn't exist. Application.window isn't there anymore. It's in source forward core. Yeah, it knows. There it is. Right, it's now telling us that that's not going to work very well. So application.window.h has a problem with finding night common. And that will be in Midnight. Let's check where it is. Okay, I've got you. I know what I'm doing now. This development idea is setting up the project itself is possibly one of the hardest things you can do. Because you've got to go through your code and change everything, obviously, to set up the base development. Source nightcom, but we're starting with a program that works, which is probably more than most people would do. So Midnight is here. If I go into source, we should have night common. We do. Okay. Twitch, yes, that's okay. I've got to be careful now because this is in a library. So get off the file system, go to projects, go to Sandbox, add library. Here we go. It's external. So we'll take external. I'm on Linux, so tick whichever one you're on. Library file will be one back, looking for the library. Build. Debug. Yeah, I'll take that one then. And there's the library file. So we'll open that one. And the include path will be Rana, Midnight, I would have said source would have been better. So I'll open that one. That's your header files. Blink. Done. Okay, everything else is grayed out, so I can press next. Finish. That's okay. Save that. Not bothered about that. But I did... Oh. About to say that's wrong. can take source off the front now. Core/midnight does not exist. Right, well, the first thing is these are wrong. This is now external. I don't like this idea, though. Lexical or pre-process issue. Okay. I'm looking for midnight.h, aren't I? There it is. Yeah, that I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because now we've got two cores. That is a problem. But ours is sources cores. Yeah. We also haven't added the files. Ah, that doesn't help. So we've got main. Add existing files. So you lot. Can we have you lot? Is that okay? Alright, yeah, now we've got files. That helps. Okay, we're still getting this core. And it's not liking that. That's, I find interesting. I know that's correct. I don't like the way it looks, but I know it's correct. Okay, everything else is okay here. We'll just try a build. Failure to find. Okay. Oh. Source core application window.h. Failure to find. Overriding, ignoring. Oh God. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. I don't want it on that screen. I want it on the other screen. How do I get it to the other screen? Okay. I need the other screen. Give me the other screen. Oh, close this thingy and give me the actual screen, please. No, you are not going to, are you? You're not going to be that helpful. I want the code. Yeah, no rule to make, application window.ui. Which is correct. It doesn't. Now there's an interesting problem to overcome. Where do you put the path? Well, the answer usually is in the Pro. We don't have any path configuration. We will down here for the library. Include path. We would need an include path to our own source core for that to work. Interesting. Source core. I think that's all I need. File not found. And you come back to here. Why do you come back to this one? Application.h. Night_common. I shouldn't be affecting night common. Oh right, in include file, source night common.h, file not found. Error occurred here. So follow symbol under cursor. Hash include memory. That's all it does. What file isn't found? That doesn't make sense, does it? Follow symbol under cursor. See, you can find it. Ah. I see. I've changed the way this works. So by some means of chance externally, I've changed the way that this works. Okay. So we have to change it back. So we'll go to our profile. And we've changed the way it works by going to midnight source instead of midnight. That's interesting. All of this now works, but now this doesn't. We have to put the source back on. See how careful you've got to be with your pathing. Okay, this target UI is not good. Okay, I need to look inside there. So let's go and do that. Ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do. This is one of the interesting things about trying to develop software. It's where the software is and how the computer paths to it. So we are now looking in Amazing Dev under Source, Core, and we're looking at this UI file. View all applications. I want Studio Code, please select. Jink, here we go. Type some stupid random thing in. And here we go. It's trying to find application window. But where is it trying to find it? It should be trying to find it within the current program or solutions working directory. And that's not where it is. So it's not being referenced anywhere else, is it? Just check the end. Source label, destination label. Source implementation, output intro, picture.h. Okay, all of that should now work. If it knows how to do it. What happens if we run it? Just out of interest. Okay, we've got to stop. No rule to make target application window.ui. Even though I've given it a path to it. That's interesting. Again, is that our profile? It is, isn't it? I've moved things. Where's it put it? I've got the JPEG. Ah, here we go. That's wrong. There should only be one of those, not two of those. Okay. There you go. There's only one of those now. Application Windows C. Ah, right, okay. So what we have here are headers. In Sandbox Pro for these. Ah. All of this isn't part of this now. So everything... Okay, we've got to be careful because we have got stuff in there. We have 3 files. We have a H and we have a CCP. We have application window.h. So you don't belong in this anymore. So in headers, all of these have disappeared. We only have that one. Everything else is now in a different library. Forms, we have you. We have 2 CCPs. We have a main. And those 2 don't exist. So we have that. And all of those can go. Is that correct? Yeah. Be careful with the last trail. Don't leave those in. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. That's better. And an external. Good. Let's try that. Has no member named on update. Did you mean on update blah 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 blah? Interesting. Right, that means we should go over to Midnight and have a look at you. Lovely. So we will open project. We go to Midnight Pro. And we now have to look at the differences between what we developed into Midnight and what we have in this program. And it looks as though we've got a few little problems here. Class Night Midnight has no named on update. Okay. There's Midnight on update. Alright, let's just have a look at your pro a minute. You should have all the files that I just removed, basically. Oh, we've got an item warehouse as well. Well, hey. Okay. It's looking good. It's a static lib, so that... Did I ask for a static lib? I bet I didn't. Did I mess up? Ooh. I think I might have done. Who's this source assets picture? Midnight. That's coming from somewhere else. This is ours. And this is external. Okay. Alright, we'll do that again then. Simple enough, isn't it? So, Sandbox Pro. First of all, let's make sure we can do that. Nothing to be done. Okay, so it's perfectly okay. Active project, please. We can close that. And we'll try that again. Add library. External. Next. Library type. Library file. Is Midnight. It's that one. Okay, you're in. Yeah. Browse. Back one. Midnight. And we're having to put source in, so we'll just do there. Linkage. Static, yeah. I'll put in that one as well. Alright. Class Night Midnight has no named member. Night Midnight has no named member on update. Did you mean on update? Yeah. So where's this error actually happening? here. So we're creating a class called onUpdate. Okay. Build, clean, no, rebuild. I want to see that come up, where it comes up. There it does, right at the end. Why doesn't this fit on my screen? Ah, that's interesting, it doesn't fit on the screen. A little bit weird. I'm more interested in red text than I am errors. On update. Yeah. Well, I can test that by typing in midnight here and then placing in an arrow. So it's getting nothing. Oh, there it is. Ah. Which means there are two. I see. It's a capital. Okay. Interesting. So now we can have a look at these issues. Gotcha. I changed it all, didn't I? So if we look down here, I changed all the capitals to lowercase. So that's an M. That's an R. That's an S. Okay, let's try that again. See how many of these I can get rid of. Class night : midnight has no member named midnight. Oh, of course it doesn't. Helps you take that back out, doesn't it, the test? There you go. Spacebar. Wasn't hard to do. Exit works. Return. There you go. That's your environment setup. Done. Not very hard to do. You just got to remember what processes you went through when you were developing Midnight past the first stage, as it were. When I was trying to start standardizing the way it was typed and things like that. Wasn't too hard to work out. You just had to look at what it was telling you, and it was telling me that onUpdate didn't exist, but onUpdate did, and it's a difference between a capital and a lowercase. Not easy to spot, but luckily it's the kind of thing I'm used to seeing. All of the pathing now works, but we've done a hack. We have got a hack still. And that hack is in our profile. And that hack is that include path. Do I really want that hack? Yes. I do. I'm not overly keen on the way this has been set up. I've introduced one hack, and also we have a crossover of this path. And this is in lowercase, and I'm in lowercase. What we could do is not use standard. Or expand hours. To app core. Gotcha. Yeah, we can do that. I don't know how that would work. Can I change that? Well, yes. It's easy to do on disk though. So instead of calling it core, so it is the same as core in the Midnight library, what we could do is rename this and put it as app core. Or something like, oh, app. No, it would be app core. So we don't have a conflict. Now to do that, it means that we now have to change all of our details within Sandbox, which is easier to do than change all the details in Midnight. So you start with main, and you go to app core, like that. That's the first one. The next one is in your profile. So the profile has to... No, it's at the top. We want our hack. Okay. That's so that we can use the UI file from down there. Alright, so as you can see, everything's now disappeared here. So we no longer have that. We've lost that. And we've lost that. So we now have to go to Sandbox. I should have just put them back in, shouldn't I? That would have probably been better. Okay, add existing directory. Let's add you. Yeah. Okay. Just puts it all back in here and puts in app core instead of core. So all of that worked nicely. Don't care about the bottom bit. Lovely. That was okay then. And it should now run. No, it won't run. It does run. Oh. That was bad. Shouldn't have done. And that's because we're not using... I see. We're only using one include. It's the includes that should break. So as you can see, that's in the same directory. And that's in the same directory, so it doesn't break. Okay. The funny thing is, the hack that we're putting isn't for this. The hack that we put into Sandbox Pro here is for Qt. Because this is a special function of Qt. Yeah. Qt takes over this. That's a special function in Qt for our UI, so that Qt can build our UI. So that hack is for Qt, not for us. Interesting. You're probably wondering how I got to know all of this. And it's called experience. Close. Close. We're okay. We can... we've got a development environment. What do you do once you get your development environment? Well, the first thing you should do, and always do, is first of all put a README on it, I think. What is it? A README MD. Alright, let's do that. Not sure. Yeah, that's disappeared. Good. Oh, we already got one in. Did I copy it? I did. There we go. So, Amazing Dev, README. Games Development Sandbox. So this is Amazing Dev. So, Amazing Dev. I'll put a hyphen in. Currently in use Twitch stream. All code is generic Qt. A project which will develop our first ever game. Written from start to scratch, basically. Final code. Oh, this did say final code on it as well. We're not on. We are on pass 1. And that means that we are now in development. Okay, that's better. That means what I wanted to say. It's not part of the... Am I allowed to add that? Other files? I am. Well, I didn't know that. There you go. Learn something every day. Local repository is commit. Select all files, including the README. Pro. Everything looks good there. Initial commit. I never say anything about my initial commits. Ever. But that'll do. That's all I want. 6 files, that'll do. Done. The next thing to do is to make it public to you lot. So let's do that. You'll do. Alright. Alright, it's happy. Initial commit, and we just push it. Done. Let's look on GitHub under Fraser, Blade Sharp, Rana. Main. View code. We are, where are we? GFX dev. View code. Here we go. And there's the README. Pass 1 in development. Good. So everything's correct. Everything's in the right places. And you can see source app core. Good. That's now available to you. You can download all the work I've just done. Did I earn a cup of coffee, by the way? Do you think I've done enough for a cup of coffee? All of this is still in GFX dev though. Alright, not to worry. Main, GFX dev, view code, and there it is. So that's what we're working on. There we go. That looks good. Not bad for an hour's work. We've actually got a full development environment for our new game. That's interesting. Now we just need to work out how to develop it. What to do with this development environment that will produce us a game. Well, luckily our development environment already comes up with a program. As you can see, just hit the space bar and everything works perfectly. There we go. And it doesn't change size. That's probably a good idea. This doesn't go off the edges, does it? No, it doesn't. Check that edge, check the top edge, check the middle of the top edge, anywhere will do. Somewhere random. Always try them places that you haven't tried before, just in case there's a glitch. No, that works perfectly. Yeah, there's a little pause, which means that the repeat's not been dealt with. There we go. We have a start point. And we need a maze. And I think that's probably where you would start. But we're now going to have to decide on the rules of development. And this is where it gets a bit nasty. So, first things first, start to relax, because what happens next is the heavy lifting. This is what I would say makes or breaks a development, and in AAA games they try and break the developer. They go into something like a crunch period at the end, and after that point most developers will leave the project. Why? Because they've just been crunched and burnt out and they can't do it anymore. They've got nothing left to give. Is that what you want to do to yourself? Do you want to put yourself through that? No, you don't. So, we're not going to do it that way. But we do have to take that into account. And we do have to account for AAA games and how they manage their time badly. First of all, they have a plan which they try and stick to. Well, that's one of the obvious stages that we've already altered. That's to stop us from making the mistake that they mistake. And they'll say, well, you can't do this without a plan, because the program that you're trying to create is so complicated, and they're wrong. The program you're trying to create is not complicated. The program you're trying to create is a game. The complicated bit is here. We're not developing that. And that's going to be one of the rules. And that's where they go wrong. They will develop that. And you can't. If you're going to develop a game, you cannot. Your underlying framework or your underlying game engine, one of the rules you have to make at the start, and it's the hardest rule to stick to, you can at no time modify anything else but your game. So we can't touch Midnight, we can only touch Sandbox. In fact, I can close Midnight and we'll never look at it again. I'm only keeping it open so that I can look at the code and find out what the hell it's doing. The urge to make your game engine do what you want your game to do is not the job of the game engine. It is the job of the game. And the tendency is to modify the game engine to suit the game rather than modify the game to suit the engine. And you've got to take a stance on that. And you've got to take your perspective and your viewpoint and your reference point and say, no, stop. Don't touch the underlying code, even if it's wrong. If you find an error in your Midnight code halfway through developing your game, do you correct it? No, you do not. Not until your game is finished and released can you then turn around and say, correct that error. It is not your job during developing a game to develop the game engine. If you want to develop game engines, go ahead. But please don't do it whilst you're making a game. Make a game first and then take parts of that game to create a game engine, yes. But only after you've completed the game. Never do the two in tandem. Why? Because then you forget who's responsible for what, and your game becomes part of the game engine. And you cannot separate the two. But if you do it separately, you can take Midnight, the game engine, away, put any other game engine in, and you should be able to run your program. If the two game engines have the same commands, which they probably wouldn't. So you'd have to go through your game and change the commands to do the same thing as what they did before. But you wouldn't go through the game engine and change it to match the last game engine, would you? Exactly. That's the whole point. What is responsible for what? Let's go and put the kettle on. And as I don't trust my internet connection at the moment. Let's just check it again. Oh, that was a nice thing. How did that happen? Oh, right. Lovely. Oh, that's clever. I like that. Strange effect. I like that. Strange effect. Yeah. Alright, well, 1 hour and 15 minutes into game development, and we've actually got a game up and running. We don't have a maze, but we do have a game up and running. It's not a very fun game, though, is it? Let's be honest. Development has been very fast, but now it's going to slow down, obviously. Now, I've been talking about modular programming and how you should go about it. Well, what I haven't said too much about, though, and this is awkward, I have mentioned it, and it's in every file, and we know about it. It's these brackets, this scope. And this scope is very important. As you know, inside of Midnight, we extended the scope. Let's get out the headers. Oh no, headers will do. As you can see, we've extended the scope by adding an extra one to stop any kind of crossover happening. And that's been done on purpose, obviously, to protect the code. So we're not allowed to use a night namespace, that's for starters. Yeah, so we can't get our codes mixed up. To keep the code bases separate. So we can use the same variable names, we can use the same functions, we can even write the same functions, and it doesn't matter whether it's in Sandbox or in Midnight. The name Sandbox, I don't care what it's called. You can change the name after it's been compiled. So that's irrelevant-ish. We can change that. It is a thought. Not sure if I want to. I do like that idea, though. That's very clever. And that gives me 2 screens to work with. Okay. I think I'm more than happy with that idea. So now we enter the non-productive stage, and we've got about 1 hour and 15 minutes, because that's how long it took us to get this far, where you're not allowed to do anything. You are not allowed to start work on your game for however long it takes you to set up your development environment. Is the same amount of time as you then have to take off and do nothing. There's a big reason for it. It's to stop you just jumping in there and making a bloody big mess of it all. So, just take a break for 1 hour or whatever. Relax and think. You might say, oh, that'd be boring. Well, yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? But that's what you should be looking at for the next hour. Because that's what you're going to do. And do you know what you've got so far? Probably not. Oh, right, there's a glass of stuff here. I'm going to have to make this coffee. Right, so let's go and make the coffee. We are taking a break, by the way. This part of game development is what I would call the easy part, because you don't actually have to do anything. Be right back. Okay, I've had some thoughts. That's all it took, was making a cup of coffee. That's all you really need to do. You don't have to take too much time away from this, just a little bit. You just got to stand back. Please remember, I'm doing this live, I haven't thought about it. So. Right. Do not, under any circumstances, and this is the biggest one, and I really mean the biggest one, alter in any way. Remember, did you see how I altered the development environment to suit the game engine? People think you're supposed to alter the game engine. I have no idea why they think that. That gets 3. Which means under no circumstances should you ever do that. What you should do is no planning. Do not plan. Do modular. Development, as we've already spoken about. Do all changes in game code only. Right. So we've got that far. So if this now brings a big problem. If you're a game company and you look at this, you will say that is rubbish. And actually, sorry, Mr. Game Company, it isn't. It's you that is doing it rubbish. In a AAA game company, that's what you've got to look at now. And you've got to put yourself through the process of their thoughts to understand what's wrong with what is happening to the games industry today. So let's do that. Where should we do that? Let's go over to our AAA game company, who is going to be AAA.dev. That wasn't meant to happen. So let's go for a trip out into the countryside to AAA _dev. And they have a cycle. They have something called a development cycle. Why? Because they have employees. And this is designed to be your manpower model. So this is your manpower model. how to use your developers in the best way. And that includes the planning stage where you have to draw this cycle. And this cycle has to fit. Otherwise, you're going to go bust. You're going to make massive losses and your business will fail. So everything rides on this first planning session. They're not planning to develop the software. They're planning a manpower model. This has nothing to do with game development. This is to do with business. This is a business model. And this is what they put down. So let's put plan. There's your planning stage. We're in it now. Development cycle, employees, manpower model. That's what we're doing now. We're planning. What else can we do? We can creating the environment. So there's your environment. There's your pass one code. Which is another stupid thing that they do. Over here is your polish, pass 2. I can't call it pass 2 because it isn't, it's polish. And release. So that's your goal. I do put those two together because they're often confused. Very confused. They also have two things here, and they call them alpha pass and a beta pass. I would like to talk about those a lot, and I mean a lot. So we get you to there, we get you to there, we get you to there, and you to there. Where's Q&A? It's in the middle. Or it should be. They don't put it there, by the way. They put it here. So I'm going to put a little dotted line, because I disagree with them on that one. They actually put it in the cycle. It shouldn't be. Q&A is every single part. Even your plan should be Q&A. Q&A is quality and assurance, not questions and answers. Quality and assurance checks to see what you are doing is correct. You should Q&A your plan. Then you'd know that your Q&A doesn't fit in just after pass one code. Duh. Q&A should be happening at every single stage. Are you happy with what you have at this point in time? Should be asked every single minute of every single day. That is your Q&A. Q&A is not the responsibility of a team or a body of employees, although that's how they plan it in the manpower model. It's a separate department. No, Q&A is everybody that's working on the project. Everybody, including the person that's making this stupid plan that they're making. Because whatever that plan is, it's not going to work. It can't work. Because you don't know what you're going to come up against. You have no idea what you're going to come up against. You cannot plan for an unknown eventuality. You can give it a time. Because that's what they do with this circle next. They straighten it out and put it in a linear time scale and allot times for it. The more time something has got to happen, or the more time you can spend on one area of your development cycle, the fewer employees you need to do it. Have you got that? So if you're thinking, we're going to develop a game and it's going to take 1 year, where do you want the most time? Who are the employees that cost you the most? It's the developers. It's pass one code at the bottom. The one thing that matters the least. Remember what I always say about pass one code. It's crap. It really is bad. It is the worst code that you will... It's the coder's nightmare, is to be given pass one code and say, polish that. Turn it into something better. Because the first thing you're going to have to do that is understand what the hell you're looking at. And that's the part they're going to give the most time and the least people. So your pass one code is going to be worse, and it is planned to be worse than it should have been. You will be better using more people in a shorter time span, because then you've got more heads looking at the code saying, that's bad, that needs changing, we can do that a lot better. By having fewer people looking at the code, you're being polarized. And if you understand the effects of polarization, it means you only get half as good as what you should be getting. So your code base comes out twice as bad. That's an interesting side effect of doing that plan. Now, I'm lucky. I'm just one person, so I'm not planning because there's only me. What about the time periods? Doesn't really matter. It's as long as it takes me. Should be about 24 hours to do a simple game. Or your first game should not take you more than a week. In time, that's a lot of hours. That let's say a week's worth of work is what? Is it about 50 hours? It's a reasonable amount of work to do in 1 week. 24 hours, yeah, that's probably span that over a few weeks or a month is a couple of hours a day. Working for 4 to 5 days a week on it. So if you're putting 10 hours a week in, a project that should take 24 hours to complete will take you 2.5 weeks. It's simple math. So the easiest of projects should take you about 2.5 weeks. This kind of project that we're about to do, I'm about to change it slightly in the rules. Because I had an idea when I went to make a cup of coffee. We're going to do something awkward. It's going to double the time it takes us to do it, obviously. But hell, why not? Let's do it. So this has got nothing to do with developing your game. All of this just hinders the development of a game. That's what it's designed to do, because it's designed to do it in the cheapest and most effective way. And the cheapest and most effective way of writing a game is not correct. And that's what AAA games suffer from. So what we are going to do, we should have squiggly lines under those. Those are headings. We are going to do procedural maze. That's just doubled my workload. Not a random maze, not just a set maze. Although, if you put those two statements together, a random set maze is actually a procedural maze. I can prove that, but we'll talk about it as we go through. And we will prove that it is both random and set. Do we have a framework within our game engine to do that? Nope. Do we hell? Our game engine isn't designed to do that, and that's exactly why I'm doing this, because I would like that ability for my game engine. And to be able to put that into my game engine, I would need to first develop it within a game. What can our game engine do? Yeah. So you have to know that. You have to learn the game engine that you're using. You have to learn how to use it and utilize it, and then you've got to be inventive. Then you've got to be creative. So let's put that down. And this is the part that doesn't fit into the AAA work cycle. There's not a lot of do nots, is there? There's quite a few do's. Not very restricted, are we? And the restriction that we've actually put in saves us work. Makes it easier for us to concentrate on what we can do. That's interesting. So what I've effectively done is said, sit down, start off with a group of people, sit down and start splitting yourselves off into what you want to do. And then come back to me and say, how many people do you need to do that? One person might say, oh, well, I'm good at input and output. I'll do the input and output for it. Or the input. Another person might say, well, I'll concentrate on the rendering. Another person would say, I'll do the maze. Which is where we're going to start, by the way. We're going to start by doing the maze. But to do the maze, you need to know the rendering. Do you? Really? Actually, you don't. Because it's modular development. Creating the maze and rendering the maze are two totally separate development processes. But how do they talk to each other? Well, that's what you work out along the way. That's why you're paid to be a developer. You're not paid to develop. You are a developer. It's the ER on the end that makes a big difference in English language. The ER on the end means you are being paid to change things. Whereas if you develop something, you are being paid to follow instructions. There's a big difference. So you are either being employed to develop a game, you're being paid to follow a plan, or you are a developer and you go by the right-hand side that's on the screen right now, and you are there to change things. And there's a massive difference between the two. Be very careful which company you go to and their idea of what that word means. A lot of them will say, we're going to employ you as a developer, and then you will be told to develop. Whereas other companies will hire you as a developer and say, well, good luck, and leave you to it. And that's the difference. And there's a huge difference. I want the second one. I don't want the first one. I don't want to be told what to do. That's just me. It might not be for you. You might want the first company where you're told what to do because you're unsure of your own creativity, your own, well, you could call it problem-solving abilities, whatever. You shouldn't be undervaluing yourself that much. In fact, you should be doing the reverse. I am not a creative person, but I love being creative. And that's why I like programming. It's not because I want to follow the rules, it's because I want to break them. That's the difference. And I think that everybody who becomes a programmer, remember I started as a hacker, I was breaking the rules. I obviously didn't carry on being a hacker. I decided to not cross the legality line. I stopped at that point and said, no, that's a line I'm not going to step across. So I am a legal hacker. But at the same time, I want to break the rules. And those rules are laid down by all the languages that you use, and they're laid down by the game engine we're about to use. And that's where that bottom thing, be creative, comes in. And by being creative, at the end of your creation, you will have things for your game engine fully developed that you would never have thought of. You would never be able to develop them in any other environment. And in any other environment, they might be totally useless. So do they go in the game engine or not? Oh, that's a story for a different day. Right, let's see what we can do then. What are we on? We're on 144. Okay, we've taken a break. We've had a look at where AAA games get it wrong. I mean, how could they get it right? Well, the simplest thing is to get all your people together and to tell them exactly what's expected of them. That's how you should do it, AAA games. Stop planning and tell the people what's expected of them. Tell them what stage you are at in development and what is expected to get you forwards. Not, this is what we're going to do. You're going to have that many people. No, it's the whole team. The team will divide itself naturally, and if you allow them to be creative, they will do everything that you ever dreamt of and more a damn sight faster. And the code will be better. And that's what I'm trying to get at with this. This is going to give us good Pass 1 code. First of all, what have we got? So, what can the game engine do? Is our game engine Pass 1 compliant? Yes, it is. It said it was ready. Is it Pass 2 compliant? And if you know the Pass 1, 2 and 3 rules, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. Pass 2 means that you have removed all errors. And probably a lot of the bugs. And there's a difference between the two. It's the difference of ownership. A bug you don't own, it's part of the system. An error is something that you've typed into your program. So by removing all of the errors and most of the bugs, you get your pass 2 code standard. Your pass 3 gold standard, as I call it, the gold standard pass 3, is where you remove all the bugs. Because there's no errors left, there's only bugs. And at that point you have perfect code. What standard are we at with Midnight? Does anybody know? I can soon tell. Let's go probably through to the last system that we did. It would have been movement, not rendering. Yeah, we are pretty golden, I think. Yeah, it's looking like it. I think I went through all of this 3 times. Yeah, there's only one include. Yeah, that's correct. Anything else I need to look at? Yes, there is. That was the headers. Can I have the source? Don't want that. It's the implementation that matters. Mobile. It's all been changed. All the lettering's correct. And that matters as well. All of those were changed to lowercase. Wise play position. Yeah, that's right. Everything looks right. That looks correct. That's the whole of the player module. Yeah. That's how I know it's probably golden. It's definitely pass 2. Damn it, that's good. This is good programming. Might not be a very good program, but it's good programming. Who did this? Me? Yep, that matches. See how they both follow the same lines? They look the same. That's the base. And that looks the same. This is high quality. Very high quality. I will go as far as sticking my neck out saying that this is... oh my god. You're joking me. Wow. That is better than I expected, sorry. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked at what I've done. And we have the keyboards in. Oh, magic numbers. Okay. Silver. Not gold, silver. But that was done on purpose. That was done for speed, wasn't it? Rather than... We knew that this wasn't going to survive. Okay. That's fine. But will it work for every situation? It's using what? Qt, so yes it will. Qt has got me covered. So we can call that gold, although it's silver. It's one step away. Alright, I'll go with gold then. Look at that, it's empty. Wow. It all fits on a screen. That is fantastic. We are using referencing, which is a way of doing things. I call it referencing. What does C++ call it? C++ would call it a header file. C++ would call it make standard library, make shared with a type T. That's what C++ would call it. I call it a ref, or REF, with a type T. Shared pointers are a way of making sure that you're not getting memory leaks. Very, very useful. And by using the template system within C++, we can make this little itty-bitty thing here. Something that I'm not happy about, because obviously I didn't really want to go into that during the Games Club, is we haven't done the type defs in here. We've only done the templates. Okay. So we are going to have to do that for ourselves. No, we won't, because we won't need them at this stage. Good. Right. That's fine then. Lovely. As long as I don't need something, we'll be alright. So now I'm looking through the game code that we've got, and let's see if this is any good. Well, no, this is 1. This is pass 1 code. Borderline pass 2. 1.5. It's not very good. We've got an if statement. We've got 2 if statements here. We've got information being printed out. No, this is pass 1 code. 100%. So this is nowhere near the gold standard. We can do anything we want with this. We can throw it all out and rewrite it. That's fine. How's our main code? Right. Well, that equation should be a define. We don't seem to have a common file, which I'm not overly happy about. There's an include missing. That tells me that I never got to pass 2, because there's a file missing. And that file, to make it into pass 2 code, would be a common file which you would include in every other file. To keep global information on how you want to program. So this sandbox wasn't developed as a program. It was literally developed as a basic foundation bit of code which you can just use for anything you want. This was never fixed, and that's rubbish. We should not have that. So how did we do that in Midnight? Now I do want to look at you. It'll tell me in the item warehouse. So that's the headers, sources, source, item warehouse. How did it get around this? My God, this is good code. Okay, so our file is coming in as a Q string. Load item file. Are we actually using this? We are in Initialize. Source, assets, items, item data. We must be adding something to it. So we're creating a reference to what we're going to put it into. We are reading that from file. Wow. Does that mean we've already solved that? Because we're not using that directory thing. What are we setting it to? Application directory path. All right. check. This will be in Rana and it will be in Midnight Desktop Build. We did solve it. Oh. No way. The solution is more simple than you think. What we are loading from should be in the same directory as where we are running the exec file. But it can't be because this is a library, of course. So the exec file wouldn't be in here. Ah. That's interesting. We're going to come a cropper on that. Absolutely. Awesome. I look forward to the challenge. Right, so we're golden. There is a problem, which is because we haven't made certain decisions about how to deal with things. And we've also made a problem for ourselves by heading these core ECS. Instead of calling it Midnight Core, Midnight ECS, Midnight Implementation, Midnight Output, Midnight Systems, which we should have done. We missed something there. That needs to be fixed at some point. But we're not allowed to touch it, so we've got what we've got. Let's have a look at our application. Our application is quite good. We have an on update function which is going through to midnight and just updating. What information are we passing through to that? We initialize the engine. We set the player, so we can set the player position. That's going to be useful. We're setting a timer, we're connecting the timer, and we're just giving in information. We there run and start the timer running because it's on an interrupt system, not on our main loop is an interrupt, a system interrupt rather than a while loop or a do while loop or whatever you want to call it. And the only things that we do is on the key press interrupts, we send through this event. So we pass our event over to the midnight system. We're taking, that's an interesting way of doing it. Instead of the midnight system working out what the event is, we are sending it through. Ah, that's backwards. The system, the midnight system should give us the event. So this is the wrong way around, but that's what we've got, so that's what we'll work with. The only thing we seem to have here is set player position. So is that the only thing we can do with our system? Oh, so how do we render? Maybe we'll have to look at the rendering after all. Okay. Our rendering system just takes in text rendering, and that just outputs a text. output update. Fair enough. So on update, it just sends the text view through to the text rendering, and that'll do everything on the output. So who sets up this? So we can set that. We register the output. Yeah, we don't take... So yeah, we just register the output. We can register any output we want. Is there a size limit? Well, there must be some kind of size limit to that output. There probably isn't. There must be. There doesn't have to be. Ooh, that's interesting. So we can use this function here. And it will tell us whether it's okay or not. So we can register any output we like, just using that function there. We can also set the player position. We can move the player. So register output. And it's an M, so it's a member variable text view. Text view doesn't have to have a size, does it? Is that how I got around it? Really? Was I that clever? I'm not usually clever. Don't be stupid. Oh, it's a Q string. Doesn't need a size. Oh, I see. So we can pass in a Q string, but it's asking for text output, register output. That's something that we wrote. Mscene. "16 bytes of information." And it's coming from scene. Which is here. That's ECS. Okay, fair enough. It's nothing to do with what I want then. So that's the overall scene and how many objects are in the scene. Text output is just how the output works. The camera is how the camera works. We're not going to be using that. Player is how the player works, and the only thing that I'm now interested in is that mText view. So in what format do you want your text view? There's the output. It's an implementation. It's in a 20 by 80. And that's fixed. So we now know the size. 21 by 80. It's an awkward number to have. Oh no, it's less than. That should be 80, not 79. Can't alter it. Too late. Whoops. So we've got awkward numbers to deal with. Tough. So the initializing the text output is here. Alright, so at the 79, so we have 0 to 78 we can fill, but we have to provide 79. Which is a weird number to have. And there's a reason for it being weird, and I can't remember what the hell it was. Right, are we initializing this anywhere? In main. I bet we're not. Okay, I know what's going on now. We've found the sizes. What I'm doing is I'm just running through the code to find out what boundaries we're going to come up against. Because remember, midnight, I asked what can it do? And that's what it can do. This function here tells me what it can do. It can output text 20 lines down, 0 to 19, and 0 to 78 lines across. Although we have to provide space for the 20th and the 79th, as you can see here. It should have been 80. Interesting. Okay, we don't. Where do we initialize? We have to, new, this. Initialize engine. So if we initialize the engine at that point, we can then change that text. Will we need to change it all the time though? Once? No. We can then initialize the maze and then we can change that text. So, we actually have our first line of code. It's a Q string, is it? I think it is. Okay, double check. Don't do stupid things at this point. It's easy to use the headers. Core, midnight. We haven't got it here. Are you saying we can't alter the text, although we have something giving it? I thought it was in midnight. Have I just missed something? Register output. Register output, text output, output. So we'll need a text output object to do it. QPlain text edit. There you go, that's exactly what it is. It's text output. Wow. Is that what I think it is then? How do we set text view? That variable there. Who's making that variable? Oh no. It's just a key string. Interesting. Because it's private, we can't touch it. Right, well there's your first solution. Text view is the thing we need to alter. How do we do that? We would have to inherit from midnight. We would have to inherit private from midnight. Ooh, that's dangerous. God, why didn't we do it in C? It would have been so much easier in C, because it would have been available to us. This is where C++ cocks up. That's been hidden from us. And each time we do the on update, it sends it through to be printed out to the screen. We could alter it through player position. But player position is... we've cut that route off straight away. Good. Right, so we did protect ourselves there. That's okay then. Yeah. The only way we can do it is to inherit midnight in its entirety. And to make mTextView equal to something different. But it's going to get overwritten. Because if you notice that mTextView isn't doing what we want it to, so the whole rendering system isn't going to do what we want it to. The whole rendering system is wrong for us. Because we cannot set mTextView, so the rendering system won't work for us. We'll need our own rendering system. Okay. So rendering's useless. Lovely. So one of the things we're going to have to do is rewrite the rendering system with our own mTextView. So we have to look at the entry point to that. So where's our rendering going to get set up? It'll be set up in Initialize Engine, so we don't care about their rendering system. So we won't need... Ooh. We'll have to divert that. So this is interesting. Do we throw away the engine? As the on update will not do. It will overwrite whatever we display on the screen. And it'll overwrite it with... dots. Now, there's a reason this is only this big, so that I could put another window up here. I'm just wondering whether that's going to be worth putting up and showing our development in this side with the engine in the left hand side to show what the engine does versus what we're going to do. Now that might be a good idea. I'm interested in that. So how do we put this here? So I've now really gone right back to the beginning of the Midnight Engine and how we initially developed it. But now you can see why developing a game engine first is a bad idea. Because what we've developed is a game engine that can't even do or cannot perform the instructions for the game that we want to do. It will overwrite whatever we try and do. So we've learnt our first lesson about our game engine. It's not granular enough. It's not modular enough. We didn't write it in a modular way. All of these things that were meant to be modular are not modular. They create a whole. So this isn't modular. We can't call these individual. I can't suddenly not call on update. And if I do call on update, it's going to do this overwrite to M output. So instead of, well, we're going to carry on doing that output. That's for certain. But now what we want to do is take a scene, initialize it, and we're going to do this in our own core engine alongside the Midnight Engine so we can see exactly what the differences are. And we'll be able to compare, we'll be able to use obviously the same code as the Midnight Engine, but we'll be able to compare the differences on how we do it. And it's the differences that will make it modular. That's going to be interesting. I like this already. So I know how to program it now. We've just solved all the problems. Instead of using the Midnight Engine or Midnight Framework, whatever you want to call it, to run the final application, what we are going to do is use the Midnight Engine as a guide on how to make the application. Because the Midnight Engine works. So I don't need to do what I was about to do. That's even better. That's easier. I was about to put something in here, wasn't I? Don't need to anymore. So we have done our first development. There you go. That was not hard. We have now developed the framework in which we are going to write the code. Very simply, we have decided that most AAA games do this, by the way. They will go and get themselves something like Unreal Engine or whatever, some kind of engine, and it won't do what they want it to, or they want it to do. They will find parts of it that will work and parts of it that won't work. And this is where things start happening for sure. So how are we going to develop this? Right, we've made a decision already. Our first decision. Oh god, that's not going to work, is it? So wow, that wasn't hard. So I've done all the planning. So, start point. Make a second output area. Alongside, yeah, that didn't really work either. All I was looking for was the start point. Alongside the game engine output. There we go, just draw a basic screen. We know how to do that because we've already done it in the game engine. But the game engine will overwrite anything we do, so we can't do that directly using the game engine. We'll have to do it a different way. So we're going to have, for every game engine command, in the application that we currently have, the sandbox that we currently have that's working the game engine, we're going to put a second command in just after it for us, for our system. That could be interesting. And then we can move the variables to where we need them to be so that we can take control of them. And we can take out the bits of the game engine that are going to overwrite whatever we put in. And leave those out. By the sounds of it. So there you go. That's where you start. So somewhere in this code we have an output area. Let's go find it. Set up UI this, UI display layers, set current widget, UI intro, set focus. So we don't want the intro's fine. Okay, so we don't want to change that. What do we want to change? Here it is, UI display layers, current widget. So UI output text display. What we want is that there. So it comes under UI output text display. So that's automatically going to happen, but it's this output text display that we want to alter. Right. So we've found that. Where are we getting output text display from? It's from UI. UI is going to pass that through to somebody else. Who does it pass it through to? Well, have a quick look. It's here. Who are you passing off to? QWidget. Really? Yeah, really. That's all you're passing it off to. Oh, wait a minute, text display. Who are you? Text output. So we need a second display that doesn't go to there. Right, so all we need to do is copy that. What did it start off as? Demote to QPlane text edit. Okay. So it's a QPlane text edit. That one. Yeah, it's that. You've got 3 dots on the left. Put 3 dots on the right. There we go. What we are going to call this is maze text edit, I guess. Comes under the output. Yeah. We can't upgrade it because we haven't got anywhere to upgrade it to currently. So that just says text display. Let's call this one maze display. Alright, we're getting somewhere. We've done our first program. We have nowhere to send it yet. We have to send it to a copy of that one there. A copy of night text output. So we need a copy of that file. Okay. And then we can send it through to there. Are we going to give ourselves a maze name space? I think we should. That might be a good idea. We could namespace this. You can test this, by the way. You just press click. There you go. We now have our display blank and empty. Works perfectly. Not a problem with that. We just have to access it. This is how easy it is to develop. Once you know what you want to develop, it's easy. All you do is do it. Simple as. And I think that's where we stop for now. Unless anybody wants to ask any questions, that is. I think I'd like people to have a chance to ask a question. at this point, because what I've just done is literally started to develop a game within 2 hours and 31 minutes of sitting down with an idea. I've got no idea what the game's going to look like. I've got no ideas of what it's going to be. I'm not even going to think about it before I do the next session, the next video, the next whatever. So let's just go and do some updates. Let's update everything. So you know where let's first of all, let's obviously do this. I'll keep us on GFX dev. I'm not really bothered where we are on this. So let's get all of this saved out, all the work saved out. There we go, we select those, we put in here. Game started. New text display area on UI. There we go, that's all we've done. We've got our start point and we can build it from there. That's going to be easy. And it's in pass 1, so we're alright with that. Yeah, I'll go with that. So we can close this now. What I would like to do is, no, we'll keep both of these together, I think. All right. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think I'm going to keep these two together like this so we can reference Midnight and use it in Sandbox. Fantastic ideas. I'm loving this. So, if you think you know what to do next, go ahead and do it. I don't know what to do next. Oh, yes I do. Send it off to you. Here's the code coming up now. So what is the computer doing that I don't know about? There you go. Game started. Two minutes ago. So it's there now. 2 minutes ago, game started. All updated. Should work. Should work. Well, if you can get it to work, it'll work. If you can't get it to work, then it won't work, will it? Right, let's update stuff. I don't need this computer anymore. Updates, what have we got? 2. Cool. Okay. This is something you shouldn't do. Once you've decided on development, you should no longer update the computer you're developing on. Do I care? Yes, I do, but not that much. So let's shove an update through. There's nothing here that I'm using. Apply. So that's fine. Building, get cracking. Okay, fair enough. Build away. So we'll be constructing our text display as our next part. There we go, all done. Magic. There you go. Right, let's see what we've missed. Hello, Mount Fuji. How are you doing? Are we up to date here? Are these all working? Magic numbers, yes, good. Oh, it has got a view. I wasn't expecting to get a view on something called Vulkan. Why are people not interested in Vulkan, considering it's the future of 3D programming? That I find amazing. OpenGL, 5 views. Vulkan, 1 view. 5 times more popular. Ooh, a few misconceptions going around, isn't there? Not my problem. That's okay, we've got 2 messages. Okay. What's this? Just stumbled upon this series and I'm enjoying so far. Have subscribed and will be catching up. I just started looking at Eve after resisting for a long time. I'm enjoying the chill presentation style. Cheers, dude. All the best. You get a reply for that. Alright. So there's more going on here than just this. Okay, which video is this on? I don't know. Why doesn't it tell me? Oh, comments on Eve poking around in... Ah, yes. So if I go over here, I put it on pause because I don't really want to watch it. Here we go. Hope you upload or stream more of this too. Oh, thank you. Ah, that's the wrong keyboard now. That's a bit awkward. How do I get rid of this keyboard now? We turn it like that, and then we get the cat out of the way because the cat's lying down on my leg. So I don't knock the cat's head off. If I just do that, it swings out of the way. Cool. So, cheers. Hoping I'll get a chance one day to play more. Well, there is that hope, but I don't think it's going to happen now. So I'll put a reply on that one. That one's just an awesome. Have fun. Yeah, I'm a pretty chill person. I don't get overly upset usually. Thank God. Right, so I've done my replies. We've got everything in the Games Club. Make sure we got that in. What are we going to do about this video I've just made? We can't really put it in the programming games. We'll probably put it in its own list, I think. Yeah. We'll keep it separate to this because it's not going to alter anything within this series. May do afterwards. The results may give me more videos to make. That would be good. So we're okay and we're up to date. Yeah. Alright, so it will be put up here. I can't put it up straight away, obviously, after doing this, because Twitch requires that they have 24 hours with this not being anywhere else on the internet, basically. From me, that is. Not from you, but from me. I can't upload this to any other platform until 24 hours have passed, so it will have to wait. As for the success or failure of my channels, shrug. I don't want your money. I just want you to enjoy yourselves. That's all. And if I can help you do that and you develop your own game, then fantastic. If not, well, maybe I should have done better. I don't know. Making games is fun. I'm going to have some fun doing this. I do. It's hard work, but it is good fun, and it's so rewarding to do it. Making a game from start to finish is possibly one of the hardest things you can ever do in programming. So it's going to be interesting to see when I put my foot down and say it's finished. I think that's going to be the most interesting point. Do we have enough? Yeah, we do. I've got an instruction. I've got no memory, so I will go by whatever instruction I've given myself. Good. We'll keep that as the instruction. Thank you. Thank you for popping by. Games Club is still open. Any comments on the Games Club playlist, if it results in another video, goes on that list. If I can incorporate anything from what I'm doing now into the Games Club later on, I will be doing so. But I want that as my central core. I want the Games Club as the central core. I don't want this to take over from what I've done before. I want this to be a part of what I've done before and to build upon what we've done since starting the Games Club, basically. So I hope it all works out and I don't get distracted and go off in a complete random tangent. Take care, peeps. Do whatever you want to do. Be whatever you want to be. And my best piece of advice to you is never lose your voice. Have fun.